Welcome to the Total Soccer Show weekend review for the red side of Mersey. Sunday was a beautiful day. Liverpool have wrapped up the Premier League with 4 games left to play. And the relegation places were sealed, and Ipswich, we feel bad for them. There's not going to be too much drama on the final day of the Prem. But if it's drama you want, look no further than Seville, where Barcelona battled Real Madrid and bent them to their will. 5 goals, extra time, and a load of red cards made this game pretty nice. Well, apart from Antonio Rudiger's decision to throw a bunch of ice. Elsewhere this weekend, the FA Cup semis brought plenty of flair, and despite Man City's bad season, they still might win silverware. And in Italy, the title race, Napoli now have the upper hand, as Inter Milan's recent form really hasn't gone as planned. My name's Ryan Bailey. Joining me today, my friend Taylor Rockwell. Hello, Taylor.
Hello, Ryan Bailey. Your introduction made me really realize how bad those bottom 3 have been this season. I think combined, Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton have 50 points, which is good for 11th in the table when all combined. I think they'd be behind Bournemouth on goal difference because they would still have the significantly negative goal difference, those 3 combined. So not a great season for them, but credit to West Ham for staying up. Credit to Tottenham for staying up. Good job, guys.
Good job, guys.
There's
well done to you.
missing there in the credit list.
Everton?
For big teams staying up. Yes, that's it. That's where I was going. Hey, they had a flair in the Liverpool title celebrations. They're having a good time.
There you go.
Oh, more on that later. Graham Ruthven, how are you, sir?
I'm very well. I enjoyed your introduction there, Ryan, going through all the teams that are celebrating titles and involved in title races. Can't personally relate to any of that this season, as Sterling Albion's season fizzled out at the weekend. How about you, Ryan? How's your season going?
We are AFC Wimbledon are 1 game away from dropping out of the playoffs, and it's looking like the form is going to take us in that direction. So great,
Hey!
Graham. It's been a wonderful weekend. Thank you for asking. I do appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah, wonderful.
If it worked for Wrexham, could you guys be bought by Tom Hardy and you could be the club of Venom? Could you go that route? Like, which like lesser Marvel character, even though I think Deadpool is one of the most popular, would you prefer to be owned by, Ryan? Hugh Jackman? He's not lesser.
Yes.
Any of the recent ones that no one has paid attention to.
Kumail
Any since
Nanjiani.
Endgame.
Kumail Nanjiani is the new owner of Wimbledon. Congratulations.
I saw that David Harbour is now a Marvel superhero, apparently. He'd be quite a cool owner, I think.
I'm going to sound 100 years old, but are they still making Marvel movies?
They are, yeah. I saw a trailer for one at the weekend, and he was in it.
And they're doing so well that they're bringing back Robert Downey Jr. to play a different character. They're making choices.
Steel Man? Some other metal man?
Yep, pretty much.
What have we got?
Pretty much.
Wonderful. Love to hear it. Very good indeed. We've got plenty to get to on this here weekend review. Before we get there, patreon.com/Total Soccer Show is where you'll find our bonus content, including but not limited to Weekend Review Extra, where we'll be covering Wrexham's promotion back to back to back. They did it. They did it. We're covering that on Weekend Review Extra and much more. We'll also give you bonus video content on our Patreon and access to our Discord server. All the cool kids, they're hanging out there. I'm campaigning to get a Cars channel put in there so we can talk about cars as well. Join us there.
The film franchise?
Yeah, Cars and Cars 2. Cars 2's the best one.
He's a big Mater guy.
Yeah, he's the best one. Patreon.com/Total Soccer Show.
Others? Had you heard of Mater before Taylor just mentioned him there?
I remember it. He's the truck. There's Lightning McQueen. I know that one. Yep. There's Lewis Hamilton is one of them in the second movie.
Got it.
Yep. There you go.
I just want to say
Michael
to everyone
Caine?
tuning in for our scintillating football coverage,
We
you
have
are
got
welcome.
so much. We were just talking about before we started recording. There's so much to talk about today, and we're spending this much time talking about Marvel and Pixar films.
There you go. Well, let's get to it. Thank you for the reminder,
only
Graham.
movies that Joe Lowry has seen, and Joe isn't here for it.
I know.
Indeed. The power trio, we shall power on. Let's get to it then, shall we? Let's talk about Liverpool, their 5-1 win over Tottenham. I imagine we won't spend too much time on the details of this game, in which, of course, Tottenham went one up. That lead didn't last too long. Liverpool winning the Premier League, now equaling Man United's record for the number of English titles. They're both tied on 20 now. Pretty amazing scenes inside and outside Anfield on this day. And Mo Salah celebrating his goal with the crowd with his Google phone. Buy a Google phone, Graham. They're great. Yay!
Yeah. Apple's market share was down for the last quarter, so better break out the Salah celebration. Yeah, I mean, putting that to one side and the cynicism of that moment.
Can we explain a little bit more for people who don't know? Because I genuinely did not know that, and I saw multiple posts about like, oh, what a great moment, what a crazy candid moment. Mohamed Salah scores a goal, celebrates, takes a selfie. So cool, organic, real.
Well, if you look closer, Taylor, you'll see the Liverpool staff member handing Mo Salah the branded cell phone of choice. which he holds up. It gets in shot. He takes a wonderful picture. It goes viral. Planned a moment, which apparently Virgil van Dijk has already done earlier this season as well. So, cynical.
I mean, TV and film has just conditioned me to think that whenever there is a phone in a public setting that isn't an iPhone, it's product placement. So as soon as he picked up something that I didn't recognise,
Isn't there, in certain TV shows by a certain network, if they're not using an iPhone, they're the bad guy, right?
That is all shows. Apple insists on that, apparently.
And the only one that bucked that is M. Night Shyamalan in his new movie because he independently finances everything, so he doesn't need sponsorship, so he did not care and made the villain have an iPhone. Credit to him for that. Credit to Apple for having strict policies, but sincerely, I mean this. Credit to Mohamed Salah. There's a level of mental focus and locked-inness that after you score a goal, all you're doing is like running around celebrating, like, I did it. For him to remember to do the sponsorship and make it like an authentically great moment, even while it was a sponsored segment that wasn't really known as a sponsored segment. It's the level of professionalism and mental focus that's required to both win a title and also satisfy sponsorship requirements.
He looked like he was celebrating. He was walking away and he sort of double take. He went, "Oh right, the thing I've got to do." That was the look on his face when he went and did that. We're spending too much time on this, I think.
Turkish fans were very confused seeing someone with a phone in the stadium that wasn't being thrown. Let's get on to Liverpool's title celebrations because yes, the cynic in me kind of furrows my brow at that moment.
Yeah, which is fair. I think cynical me had my heart warmed by the Anfield crowd, who obviously were there hours early, anticipating that maybe they would get the point needed to get the win to win the title. But I think two moments that really stood out to me. The first is when Spurs go ahead. There is a rousing amount of cheering after that goal by the Liverpool Anfield supporters because they're trying to pick the team up. And then after Liverpool's equalizer, when it's initially chalked off for offside, there is another sort of roar of enthusiasm, of sort of, I think, trying to lift the spirits of keeping the team going. And it was just interesting to me that I think in other situations and other times, other clubs and other supporters, I think would be, oh no, is it going to slip away? Is this going to be the moment? And I think part of that is that Liverpool are so comfortable in their position. But still, it's a credit to the supporters for, I think, being that 12th man, essentially, and picking the team up and being positive throughout. And I think that goes at least some way towards explaining the kind of Liverpool confidence and chemistry with which they played this game. Certainly a lot of that is just Liverpool themselves and Arne Slot finding ways to make everybody happy and score some goals along the way.
Yeah, I know Liverpool won the title, what was it, like 4 or 5 years ago, but this was, you could sense that this was the day that these fans had been waiting for.
I thought you meant, that's how long that they have been champions-elect. They won it 4 or 5 years ago, but today's the day. Yeah.
Might as well have been. I mean, I think early December was when we kind of knew that they were going to win the title, but obviously when they won it back in 2020, there were no fans inside the stadium, right? So they never had that moment of release, and you could see how much it mattered from basically the moment that Liverpool arrived on the team bus, and there were thousands of fans waiting, and there was the flares, and I thought that atmosphere kind of carried into the stadium. And I thought a lot of the scenes at full time, minus the Salah celebration, Slot leading the chant of Jurgen Klopp's name, I thought was a really nice moment, and the way that they were celebrating in front of the Klopp, we haven't really seen those scenes. I don't want to throw any shade at Man City, but they win so much, right, that these days are sort of routine for them. It feels a little bit routine. So it was nice to see celebrations where there was just a little hint of delirium. Like Andy Robertson was doing dances that no Scottish man should be doing, quite frankly. And so I just felt like that was quite infectious. And they've proved a lot of people wrong this season, Liverpool, including myself. Last year I sat here and I said that I thought Liverpool would drop off after Klopp left. And that felt like such a huge thing for a club built around him. And I maintain that it was a huge thing, and they had to make the right decisions. And there is a world where Liverpool get this entirely wrong, and they appoint a different manager, and they don't win the title. But they've been so good this season. I've been a little bit bemused by a lot of the discussion around, well, they've had no competition, maybe the Premier League's not been that good. I don't think the other teams are really the gauge for Liverpool. It's your teams like your Brightons, your Brentfords, the teams who are in that mid-tier who make it so difficult to keep up the pace over the entire season. Liverpool are on course for a 94-point season this season, which would be one of the highest point tallies of all time. And people point to those City and Liverpool title races from a few years ago where they had more points. They finished in 99, 98. That's a complete abnormality. Like, there have been great teams in the past who have finished on like 80, 85 points. I think my United's treble-winning team won the title with like 79 points or something. So you can only, it's an old cliche, but I think it's true in this case. You can, it was quite heroic, just not in terms of the points tally. You can only beat what's in front of you, and Liverpool not only have beaten the teams that have been in front of them, but over the course of the campaign, and I know they dropped off a little bit in the last month, but over the season as a whole, they have demolished the Premier League this season, and they deserve a huge amount of credit for that.
They do, Graham, and let's not take anything away from them. Let's not take anything away from Arne Slot, but also 82 points to guarantee the league with a month to go. Does that feel low? Even though if they're on course for 94, that's great, but they've locked it in at 82. That suggests to me that, you know, you kind of hinted at it. There's a growing middle class in the Premier League, isn't there? There's more points being taken from those middle teams, those Brightons. So it's arguably it is a credit to the strength of the whole league that the points are more evenly distributed. But also, like, that seems quite low to win the league with.
I would argue that is in part due to the fact that Liverpool got this done so early. And you've got teams like Arsenal who have been resting their best players for like the last 2 months in the Premier League. They're the team that is closest to Liverpool. And had that not been the case, like, I'm not saying they would have caught Liverpool, but I would have to imagine they would be closer. Like Man City as well. They were left in Liverpool's dust so early in the season that very quickly it became about building for next season. That's not really Liverpool's fault that they were so good that other teams are already starting to look to next season. Like Manchester United strolled titles in the early 2000s. I don't really remember people talking about how the rest of the Premier League was bad. It was about how they demolished the rest of the Premier League. So, I give more credit to Liverpool than criticism to the rest of the league. Because actually, I think you look at the league as a whole and you take out the bottom three who have been historically weak. This has been a strong league, and Liverpool have dealt with it better, clearly better than anyone else.
I think for me, it's a things can be two things sort of moment, because I think Graham is correct. But Ryan, I think your point is also pretty valid. I mean, we had Manchester United and Spurs in some fashion in the top like 7 at least when we did our preseason previews. Some had them even higher. I think I had Spurs 3rd, maybe. Whoops. But I think there has been a downturn in form or a lack of consistency for some of the historically larger clubs. And then you do have that kind of rising middle class, as you called it, Ryan, where you have Newcastle in the top 4. You've had Nottingham Forest in and out of the top 4 all season. Villa flirting with that as well. And so I think with that, there is kind of a balance there where teams have taken points off each other. And so in that way, that Liverpool have secured this so early and so comfortably with a really strong defensive record, and I think the best goal-scoring record in the league by a good distance, shows you that they have had that consistency that champions have to have. So further credit to them.
Yeah, exactly. The celebrations, the open top bus parade will be on May 26th, I believe I read earlier this morning before we recorded. Jurgen Klopp going to be involved. I think I don't know if he's going to be on the top deck of the bus or not, but we'll find out.
What date did you say there, Ryan?
Did I say May 26th? I think I said May 26th. Is that the end of the season?
All right, okay. That's interesting. I'll be in Liverpool that day. I didn't realise that was going to happen that day.
Oh, I hope you're not relying on the public roads on that day, Graham.
Nope, staying at the Albert Docks though, so that might have to rebook that.
Well, you should be glad you got your booking in already in the hotel, I would suggest.
Yeah.
There you go.
It is also, like, for them having won the title, as Graham said, 4 or 5 years ago, but it having been the COVID season where they can't really have the celebrations, you have like some fans showing up at the stadium, but they're not supposed to, and they're breaking protocol to do so. It is nice that Liverpool get the kind of citywide celebration. You imagine that will be quite euphoric, and you would hope that maybe they do some vetting on the flares that they purchased this time around so that you don't have blue smoke all over the place.
This wonderful story which you're referring to, Taylor, which you referred to earlier as well. Some enterprising Everton fans connivingly sold Liverpool fans some flares which they'd rebranded. They were blue, but they rebranded them as red. So intermittently during the celebrations, you saw blue flares going up during.
I presume this was like Everton fans who owned a shop or something, and not just a line of Everton fans in like trench coats and moustaches saying, "Yes, flares for sale, definitely red flares," as Liverpool fans are walking past.
While they twirled their moustaches. Yes, that was it. Yeah,
a fake red mustache, no less. I have two bits of trivia for you all that I thought was interesting. Number one is that Arne Slot is the first Dutch manager to win the Premier League. I did not know that, but that
feels weird, right?
Yeah, it does, because with the history of Dutch football and Dutch tactical geniuses, Louis van Gaal being in the league, although that obviously did not go well, you would have assumed there would be another one. I guess Gus Hiddink didn't win it. I thought he did.
Frank de Boer definitely didn't win it.
Okay. But either way, the other one that is, again, maybe like a technicality of sorts, is that Federico Chiesa becomes the second ever Italian player to get a Premier League winners medal, because I think they did away with quota on the number of games you have to have played to win a medal. So that's why Massimo Taibi never won one. That's why Federico Makeda never got one. I think there's a couple other ones, like Cudicini didn't play enough games. So there's only 2 players that have played enough games to have won the Premier League and been Italian. One is Federico Chiesa. The other one, Graham Ruthven?
I don't
Why
know.
always
It's not
him, Graham?
Jorginho.
Why always him?
Why always him? Ryan has it
Mario,
right.
Super Mario.
Yeah. You've had more Italian managers win the Premier League than you have, or get a Premier League winners medal than you have players. Claudio Ranieri, Carlo Ancelotti, Antonio Conte, Roberto Mancini.
That's wild. I'd have thought like a Chelsea would have had an Italian at some point who'd
right. That was the one that I saw a bunch of people pointing to, of like Chelsea have to have, and I think Jorginho was the one that everybody assumed, but he's never won the Premier League. Turns out.
He's never won. It feels like he has, but he hasn't. Yeah, won the Euros, I guess.
I am now fact checking myself though, because Gus Hiddink did win it, right? Or did he just get Chelsea?
No,
into a really
Gus
stable
Hiddink
position?
didn't win.
Okay, cool. There we go. Never mind.
Yep.
I feel better about that. Yay.
Yay. Very good. Excellent stuff. Congratulations, Liverpool, once again. You gone done it. Ipswich also gone done it in a different way, relegated from the Premier League this weekend following their 3-0 defeat at Newcastle. All 3 Premier League relegation spots have been decided. We have a month to go in the Premier League with the battle for 5th place. Is that what we're looking at now? Yeah, cool.
That's the first time in Premier League history that all 3 relegations have been confirmed with 4 games left of the season, which means in some way it's been even more pitiful for the bottom 3 than last season when they were historically bad. So can't wait to see Leeds and Burnley in this league next season.
Hey boy. Yeah, indeed. Quick look at some of the other Premier League games. Chelsea with a 1-0 win over Everton. That put them back into 5th with that win. A game after which we saw Cole Palmer, or clips of him running out of Stamford Bridge and getting recognised for running out of Stamford Bridge to, what was it, Graham? Go and collect some shoes or something?
Shoes, apparently. Some kind of like influencer was meeting him in like a shady looking van outside Stamford Bridge. I've no idea. I presume
Shoes,
Cole
innit?
Palmer... Wow, he's in the room again.
Hey.
He's here. Every so often he appears in this podcast. Hey. You would presume that Cole Palmer has the privileges to invite like a friend into Stamford Bridge. I have no idea why he had to run through crowds of fans to get these shoes, but I don't really
If you are the shoe influencer, you probably want to go to Cole Palmer's house as well, like to give him the privilege of buying your shoes.
Does he not have does the shoe influencer not have a shop that he can film on YouTube? I presume that's how these things work these days, but... Anyway, Chelsea, their matches are a bit of a slog at the moment. They aren't creating a whole lot, and I know some fans are getting a bit impatient with Maresca ball. Cole Palmer hasn't scored in like 14 games at this point, so maybe that's why he's running away from any new trainers. That's why he's running away from Stamford Bridge.
We're joking, but like that is a side of the times, right? That he's like, yeah, I know I got a game to play. I know we won. Whatever, it's fine. I don't care. But there's shoes I got to get to, so can you sub me off in like the 85th so I got extra time to get there?
Yeah, maybe that's the issue. Maybe he's been playing in Timberland boots for the last 14 games and he needs some actual football boots. Yeah, too heavy.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Chelsea are lacking cutting edge at the moment. Maresca keeps talking about cutting edge. I think a big issue, or even bigger issue, is just how they're lacking creativity and they have a lack of explosiveness in the wide areas. Nicholas Jackson looked a bit more like the Nicholas Jackson from the first half of the season. In this game, his goal was a great finish into the bottom corner. Apparently, his first ever league goal from outside the box. So that was a rarity for him. But, still one big chance for Chelsea in this game. That's all they created, so they need to get more out of that attack. I still don't love their chances of getting into the top 5, even though they have won their last couple.
Well, that is the big battle we are facing in this final month. And Taylor's impression of Cole Palmer still reminds me of the roadie from Wayne's World who had to separate the brown M&Ms for Ozzy Osbourne or he wouldn't go on stage that night.
He
had to
beat him with his own shoes.
Wolves 3, Leicester 0, 6th straight win for Wolves. Matheus Cunha inspiring the victory there. Future Man United player maybe.
Jamie Vardy. About that one, Taylor. He looked good at the weekend. Playing for a better team, but like the table doesn't lie. Definitely a better team.
No comment.
No comment there from Taylor Rockwell, it seems.
Into silence.
Jamie Vardy had a second-half penalty saved in that one. He's on 198 goals for the club with 4 games left of that Leicester career. Can Leicester score a goal this season? We'll find out. And if Jamie Vardy gets 2, he goes to 200 there. Brighton with a 3-2 win over West Ham. The Graham Potter derby, that's what I'm calling it. That third goal from Carlos Baleba. A lovely little effort, worth the price of admission.
The first one as well, by the way. That is a belter, but the Ayer goal to make it 1-0 Brighton is one of the goals of the season. So I don't know what they're doing at Brighton, but they're shooting practice. Chelsea should buy Brighton's shooting practice, like they bought all the rest of their players, because they need some of that.
There we go.
If you gave me 10 guesses, I don't think I would have remembered that Graham Potter manages West Ham. That's how long this season has been. That's how many games we've discussed.
Neither does Graham Potter.
He's just quietly fading into the bushes a la Homer Simpson. Yeah.
It's either him or the bad guy from Ted Lasso. I can't remember which one manages West Ham now. Not a good weekend for Man United fans. Sorry to say it, Taylor. Bournemouth 1, Man United 1. Rasmus Højlund with the 96th minute equaliser bundled in there, but obviously on the same day that Liverpool win the title, maybe not. So we have Man United, Taylor, getting a draw at Bournemouth on the day that Liverpool win the title that puts Man United in 14th with less than half of Liverpool's points.
You forgot that Bournemouth had a player set off in the 70th, so they equalized up a man too. So it took playing with the man advantage to get that equalizer. Well done to Manchester United, and it could have been worse. Tyler Adams could have been sent off in this one. I get why he wasn't. It was a fairly reckless challenge as he goes in, but I think the way he gets the ball and the way he doesn't extend both legs, it's like a little two-footed with studs showing, but I think it wasn't fully dangerous to the extent that it could merit the red card. And maybe Garnacho should have just run through it instead of pulled out, and then it wouldn't have looked so bad.
We could have found out what happens to Taylor Rockwell when Tyler Adams gets sent off against Man United. We'll need to wait on the results of that science experiment. I was morbidly excited to find out what would happen at the weekend when that looked like a possibility.
Apparently I only communicate in memes and GIFs now, but it would have just been the Larry David, like, It would have just been like, I don't know, whatever, I guess. Sigh. Times is fun.
We've broken him. I fear we've actually broken him between this and the stunned silence in the last segment.
I mean, it really is just like, oh, yeah, they equalized. Cool. Against Bournemouth. Up a man. While Liverpool win the title.
Do you know that Liverpool could have lost every game from the middle of December and still had more points than Manchester United?
I'm aware. Do you know that I believe, like, since the turn of the century, Mohamed Salah, whatever it is, like, Mohamed Salah is, like, the 7th top scorer at Old Trafford, including Manchester United players. It's fun times. It's been real fun.
Yeah, but Man United still very much rule the roost when it comes to Asian tomato juice partners and tractor parts.
Making that noodle money, baby. Yes, sir.
There we go. Wonderful stuff. Congratulations to Man United on that one. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we've got a cracker of a Classico to discuss. Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to the Weekend Review. Let's go to Spain for the Copa del Rey final. Basically, Graham, this was what all cup finals should be, in my opinion. Barcelona 3, Real Madrid 2, huge rivalry, 5 goals, extra time, 3 red cards. Some brilliant goals in this one as well. Pedri's opener was brilliant. Kylian Mbappe with the equaliser free kick, also awesome. The winner from Jules Koundé, yet another fantastic long-range goal in this game. We have Real Madrid finishing on, I don't know how many men, because I think they had 3 cards in the end, but some were off the field. They were all off the field. Antonio Rudiger with a late dismissal from the bench for throwing something, which I think the press have said was ice at the referee. He had to be held back with a fairly insane look in his eyes by 5 people. Lucas Vazquez also red carded in that instant. Jude Bellingham getting a red card in this one. And this all coming with the context of some drama before kickoff that Real Madrid have built up, focusing on the referee Ricardo de Burgos at Benestella. Real Madrid's TV channel published a video criticising the ref in various aspects, as they do with most officials. And he talked about that with some emotion in the news conference on Friday before that. It was actually reduced to tears of the referee talking about this. Madrid refused to show up for the pre-match press conference, the training session, manager's photo call at the stadium. There was rumours they were going to boycott the game itself. They then denied this, did Real Madrid, saying they were never going to boycott. But lots of drama basically leading into this one around the referees. And I don't know, Graham. How do we feel about this game from a Real Madrid perspective? Maybe a Barcelona one because they did win it after all.
Yeah, I have to kind of separate the game from all the other stuff you talk about there, Ryan, because this game was brilliant. It was wild. It was everything you want from a final between these two teams. As you say, it swung back and forth. Hugely entertaining game. I thought all the Real Madrid referee stuff was frankly disgraceful. They need to get a grip as a club. They continue to do this over and over again. And there's no basis for it. Real Madrid, if anything, get quite favourable decisions because that's the way it is for big clubs when they play in big games. They have this agenda. It is an agenda at this point. I have no problem saying that. They targeted the referee all week to apply pressure. The way that they reacted to things during the game, including Rudiger at the end, 3 red cards. That, by the way, was the correct decision for when Rudiger loses it. Mbappe does slap. I can't remember who it is in the face. Is it Gavi at that point? I can't quite remember. But that's a foul. The penalty that was given to Real Madrid at the end also was offside. There was another penalty decision that they went nuts at, also offside. If anything, and I think Taylor and I kind of have maybe a difference of opinion on the penalty at the end of the 90 minutes, but that's besides the point. If anything, I thought the decisions were kind of in Real Madrid's favour throughout the game. And you look at the referee at the end of the match, I actually thought, I felt so sorry for him. I actually thought he looked quite traumatised by the whole, he looked quite haunted at the end of the game. So I don't want to see anything like this from Real Madrid again. Unfortunately, they've got such a track record of it that I envisage it will surface again in the future. But yeah, it was a great game, and Barcelona, I thought, on the whole, deserved to win it. They were so comprehensively in control in the first half. You wouldn't say they had a huge number of clear opportunities, but it did feel like they were on top of the game. Then Mbappe comes on for the second half. He's on the bench, apparently because he has an ankle knock. Didn't play like it. Completely changed the game for Real Madrid in the second half. They were posing a serious threat in quick transition. Modric and Güler came on as well and slotted into the midfield. That then freed up Bellingham to go get forward as well. Valverde went to right back. So it made the game a lot more open, which suited Real Madrid. It also sort of suits Barcelona, who want to go direct as quickly as they can. So we ended up with this game where both teams looked dangerous every time they attacked, and it's just a shame that all this other stuff sort of distracted from it.
Yeah, agree entirely. And to spend a little more time on Real Madrid's approach to the officiating. Graham, I agree with you. It's disgraceful. I think you said it was like trying to gain influence, trying to kind of influence things ahead of kickoff. For me, it ends up feeling sort of like it makes them look weak, I think, in the end, because you're basically saying, well, if we lose, it's because the referee cheated us and it's not our fault. And it feels like you are preparing to lose at a certain point and preparing excuses for why you weren't able to compete and why you weren't able to win. And like by contrast, I saw reporting after the game, Carlo Ancelotti, this is from, I think, I forget which site it is, so I apologize. But Carlo Ancelotti had been asking Real Madrid for a long time to hire more tactical analysts to add to his staff. The club did not. Yesterday, Barcelona had a team of 7 analysts with 4 computers and a camera. Madrid had 2 guys with their laptops. And so things like that, I think, maybe could go some way towards explaining the difference in quality, some of the difference in play, the difference in adjustments. But instead, it's the official who's cheating us. And I think it sort of attempts to change the narrative ahead of the game, but in reality, I think just makes Real Madrid look weaker. And I think also has the unintended consequence of riling the players up so that when they do perceive that things are going against them, which I do not think they were, they are then going to respond with more animosity, with more fury in Rudiger's case, and you see the triple red card. Worth noting, Rudiger was already on probation. He had been basically fined, along with a couple other Madrid players, I think Mbappe and Ceballos, and maybe Vinicius, for conduct that was violating the basic rules of decent conduct. Make of that what you will. That was by UEFA. They had a 1-match suspension that was suspended for a year, like pending their behavior for the rest of the season. So you would assume that Rudiger's 1-match ban will now come into effect. But I believe I'm correct in saying that he could get between 4 and 12 matches based on historical precedent for the severity of the incident. When you get more than 4 matches at that point, it crosses competition. So it's not just Copa del Rey if he gets above 4 matches. It is La Liga as well. So he could be out for a very big chunk of the remainder of the season at a time when they are pretty short of defenders. It leaves Real Madrid in a very precarious position, and it leaves Barcelona in a much more advantageous position where they are winning silverware and looking stronger of the two for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he should get a long ban, but then Kylian Mbappe got a single match ban when the rules of La Liga said that he should get 3 matches at least. But, agenda against Real Madrid, of course.
But Barcelona very good.
Should we talk about Barcelona maybe and how good they were in this game? I mean,
I think
what do you want to say?
I think what Graham said, his sort of like summary of this game, is totally true. But I think it's fascinating how it was like back and forth and really scintillating stuff. But like one half was very much Barcelona dominant. The second half was very much Real Madrid dominant. Real Madrid's game plan did not work at all. They could not connect passes. All of their direct attempts were either cut out or overhit. It just felt like they did not have many answers for how to play through Barcelona or how to find any sort of advantageous situations. I do think a lot of that is Kylian Mbappe not being in the team. In he comes in the second half, and Real Madrid so much stronger. And I watched it back to try to figure out if there was any other like key adjustments, and there were little things along the way, but it just felt like with Mbappe in there is more of a vertical threat. The way he can combine with Vinicius means that you always have two guys who can beat you with speed, but also beat you with technical ability and can finish a goal or two. So I think that adjustment from Carlo Ancelotti, game-breaking as it was to bring on Kylian Mbappe, was a big reason why this game went the way it did. And then I think there is that disallowed penalty at the end where it's given VAR review for a long, long, long time, and we get one angle that makes it look like a dive, and so the penalty is reversed. And I think at that point, both teams felt like, oh, this could have been it. It could have been over. And you then see the corresponding relaxation in hostilities of sorts in extra time, where it felt for all the world like we were going to penalties until Jules Koundé decided to step up and score a worldie of his own, and then things kicked off from there. But a really interesting first 90 minutes and then a slightly dull period of extra time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Taylor. The game swivels on Mbappe coming on, and you can go, well, you know, he put on arguably the best player in the world and it changed the game. But he does put him on for Rodrigo. We had this discussion last week about, well, how do you make that attack work? And I've repeatedly said, as many people have said throughout the season, I can't really think of a occasion against a top level opponent, particularly one with the out of possession structure as Barcelona have, where you can have Mbappe, Vinicius and Rodrigo. So the fact that he takes off Rodrigo, puts on Mbappe, it's that split striker system with Bellingham freed up in the advanced role. There was a risk in that Real Madrid went 3-on-3 against the Barca forwards, and that then created more space for Olmo to get in between the lines. And had Rafinha been a little bit sharper with his shooting, as he has been all season, this game could have been done before Real Madrid had the opportunity to get back into it. So there was that roll of the dice from Real Madrid, even with bringing on Mbappe. But on the flip side, it allowed. I thought Madrid did a much better job of disrupting Pedri and De Jong in the middle once they made those changes. With getting Modric and Güler in there, you have like the legs of Valverde down the right side of the midfield as well, where he's playing this hybrid right back and then right midfield role, and it just allowed them to get higher in the pitch to then get on their bike in behind the Barcelona high line, which is obviously what you want to do against Barcelona. And then you've got Mbappe and Vinicius to get in between that high line. So it felt like they learned some lessons from that game at the Bernabeu last season, or early in the season, I should say, where Mbappe was offside about 300 times in that game. And there was a sequence 5 minutes into the second half, and I took it down in my notes because it was incredible, where Real Madrid had the ball on the right side. I think it was Modric had the ball on the right side. Real Madrid basically had runners from deep lined up. He's cutting across the pitch, and I think the first one was Bellingham, the second one was Valverde, the third one was Vinicius, and it was when you watch synchronized swimmers line up on the side of the swimming pool, and one goes in, the other one goes in, the next one goes in. It was watching that. It was like watching that from Real Madrid, and I contrast that to that game at the Bernabeu earlier in the season where they were just having Mbappe on the shoulder of the last defender, and he was getting caught offside time and time again. They have sort of worked out how to attack this Barcelona team, but only once the structure of their midfield is more solid as it was in the second half of this game.
Synchronised wingers? No? Can they let me have that one? Probably not. No, never mind.
It's given.
Real Madrid, Graham, when we're going into this season, I think probably most of us thought they had the potential to win everything. There is a scenario where they win nothing this season. Hansi Flick has now won 3 consecutive Clásicos. Is there a gap forming between these two sides, arguably, at this point, or are we just is it just these things are a bit of a coin flip?
I think there's a gap this season, but with the amount of talent that Real Madrid have, I don't know how long that'll last for. I think Real Madrid, I've said this in the show before, I think Real Madrid are at the point where they are recognising they need to join modern football, be more closely aligned with modern football. What I mean by that is be a little bit more than the sort of vibes-y stuff that they have been under Carlo Ancelotti. I think they are looking for a manager who gives them a clearer identity, who has.
Who could that possibly be?
There's a certain former midfielder who has.
Ozadam.
That's the one.
Yes, get him in again. Or Mourinho. Xabi Alonso, it feels like he's pretty close to this job. Not long after this game was over, it was broken in Spain and by The Athletic, by David Ornstein, that basically Ancelotti has verbally agreed to be the Brazil manager, and he's going to leave at the end of June. Interestingly, before the Club World Cup. I don't know whether Xabi Alonso takes over for the Club World Cup or whether he would take over afterwards, but it does feel like that's the direction of travel for Real Madrid. And look, I don't know if it's going to work. Real Madrid feel like a team that has been reluctant and resistant to join modern football over the last 10 years. They've kind of been an anomaly and have revelled in that. But I'm excited to see it happen if Xabi Alonso does take charge of that team.
There we go. Lest we forget, in Spain, of course, there is another Clásico coming up in a couple of weeks' time in the league, which may close the gap between these two teams at the top of La Liga. Taylor, please.
Does that game finish with 22 players on the pitch? I would say no.
Maybe from the bench, 22 players on the pitch,
There we go.
running on, all throwing ice.
Yeah, let's keep the ice in the locker room for that one. That would be my suggestion. I haven't mentioned Lamine Yamal's hair at this point. I think I need to do it.
You should keep it that way as well.
Okay, good. All right, let's move on then.
Did you see Shezzy's comments about it?
No, I didn't.
Apparently they had a barber in the hotel for players that wanted to change up their style ahead of the game, and he was begging Lamine Yamal to just shave his head. And apparently that fell on deaf ears. Maybe because the hair was so distracting.
Wow. There you go.
I mean, it does. Is that fashionable now? Because he was wearing it with the sort of early 2000 boy band sunglasses as well after the game. He had two sets of those on, shaking the hand of the King of Spain as well, which I loved as an image. But is that kind of yellowy, gelled hair look? Is that what the kids are doing now? Is that fashionable?
I think we're all in unique positions to speak on what the children are doing, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I wore baggy jeans out at the weekend and received compliments.
It does feel like early 2000s are coming back, so yeah. Or maybe already back, so that seems like maybe it's in the cards.
Who gave you those compliments on those jeans, Graham? Were you out with Charlie XCX at the weekend?
Yeah, Brat Summer. My big Brat Summer.
Amazing. Well done to you. And yeah, I suppose if you could wear a blue suit to the Pope's funeral, you can wear glasses while shaking hands with the King. Why not? Anything goes these days. Sorry, Taylor.
I have one more thing about this game, as much as I'm enjoying early 2000s fashion chat with Ryan and Graham. Jude Bellingham played in this game, right? I know he gets the red card. I know he gives the ball away that leads to the Barcelona opener. Fairly anonymous game for him, other than that. I feel like I look to him to be a player who can be a difference maker, who can elevate Real Madrid. I don't have a ton of notes about him. I don't have much involvement from him other than that a close-up tells me that he curses in Spanish because they cut to him as he was very clearly screaming an obscenity in Spanish. Outside of that, it's the giveaway for the Barca goal. Not a ton of other moments. Felt pretty quiet for him.
And the giveaway for the Barca goal is a pretty damning moment where he just stands and watches Pedri run past him to the edge of the box and he sticks one in the top corner. So,
and that's bad? That's not good defending, is that right?
So I've heard.
Okay, cool. I think it's bad. Right. Yeah. But we're showing growth by swearing in Spanish as well as English now, I suppose. So that's something.
There is that. There is
We'll
that.
give him that.
But man, this was
All
just
right.
the first half. I can't get over how competent and strong Barcelona looked, and I mean that both in terms of team performance, but also physicality. There's a moment in the 26th when Vinicius starts a Real Madrid counter, and Lamine Yamal, of all people, sprints back, tracks back, and fully bodies Vinicius off the ball, and then he's kind of left there being like, I was fouled, even though he clearly was not. And that felt like another sort of tempo setup for that first half, that Barcelona were just up for a fight, and I think Real Madrid were expecting the official to call fights. I don't really know what they were hoping for, but a better second half, but probably Barcelona in the end deserved winners.
Indeed. Congrats to Barcelona. Less congrats to their fans who appeared to tear up Seville before the game. Lots of police trouble and such in the area. Did you see this, Graham?
That's not so good. What I will say is this stadium looks, the Cartuja, this was the first game after renovation. They've added 15,000 seats. They've got rid of the athletics track. I thought this looked great. It's the first time I've ever watched a game at Cartuja. I mean, the pitch was cut up a little bit, and that's because they laid it last week. But the idea with the Cartuja is this is going to be almost Spain's national stadium. They're going to hold the Copa del Rey final every year at that stadium. They're going to have national team games, which is kind of what was already happening. But it looks like a venue that is sort of fitting for those sort of occasions now.
Marvellous stuff. Fitting for the occasion of the FA Cup semi-finals is Wembley Stadium, which was a controversial topic that came up again this weekend. That is playing the semi-finals at Wembley. A real quick look at the FA Cup. Well, let's start with Crystal Palace's 3-0 win over Aston Villa. Eberechi Eze and Ismail Assar with some lovely goals in this one. Mateta missed a penalty for Palace in this one. Didn't matter. Fully deserved win, Graham, for Palace. Their first ever major trophy is in sight here.
Yeah, and pretty much everything went right for Palace, apart from that Mateta missed penalty. That was pretty much the only thing they didn't get right in the whole game. I thought this was so impressive by Palace, who really stopped Villa from getting into the areas that they did against Newcastle last week, and obviously in that game against PSG as well. They needed Dean Henderson to make a couple of big saves at key moments, but you look at the numbers. Palace had 3 big chances to Villa's 0. They had a lot less possession, I think like 30% possession in this game. But that was part of the game plan, to get Ismaila Sarr and Eze into space in quick transition. I thought Mateta was a bully all game, and Villa just couldn't handle his physicality. Ismaila Sarr had a bit of a slow start to the season, but is really now the sort of direct outlet for this team, and he was getting into space behind the fullbacks. Obviously, Eze's goal to make it 1-0 is an absolute belter. We've seen him produce, like, he's got that in his arsenal. We've seen him do that a few times in recent weeks. I thought the standout player was Adam Wharton. He is a serious talent, and you have to remind yourself that he's only been at Crystal Palace for just over a year. He's 21 years old. The way that he was jumping into the press in the middle of the pitch, he does it for the Sarr goal, and he had countless jump press moments like that in the match. He's also excellent on the ball. He was excellent on the ball in this game. Got Palace moving forward into the attack quickly. Someone is going to pay £100 million for him. He's been linked with Real Madrid. I don't think those kind of links are ridiculous. I think he's absolutely sensational, and pretty much every elite level team could do with a player like Adam Wharton. So I'll remember this as, sometimes you remember games as breakout moments for young players where they really show their quality. I think this was one of those for Adam Wharton, and he'll have the opportunity against Man City in the final as well.
Indeed. We look forward to seeing him in another final next summer at MetLife Stadium, of course. I'm sure he'll be there. Lining up. Man City will join Crystal Palace in the FA Cup final on May 17th. A 2-0 win over Nottingham Forest. Forest had a lot of good chances in this one. Gibbs White had an outrageous volley that hit the bar. He hit the post as well. There was another post hit from Forest. So a bit of an unlucky one for Forest here, Graham.
Yeah, in the second half, I would certainly agree with that. I thought Nuno got his lineup to start the game wrong, so he went to a 4-4-2 with Elliot Anderson and Gibbs White in the wider positions. You also had 18-year-old Zach Abbott starting at right back for Forest due to injuries, not a player that I was familiar with. But Forest in that first half, they really struggled to get out on the counter-attack, which is usually their thing under Nuno. And they make that change at the start of the second half. Anthony Elanga comes on. They change the shape a little bit. They go into their kind of more 4-2-3-1. And had that Elanga chance gone in right at the start of the second half, then maybe this could have been a different game. And you're right, Ryan. They did apply some pressure in the second half. They hit the woodwork 3 times. I think Gibbs White hits the post and the bar. There's another one that comes off the post as well, but I think Nuno will regret the lineup he went with to start the game because it was so comprehensive for City in the first half. I said it last week after the Everton game. City are looking more like Man City. Again, the first 20 minutes of this game was probably, I saw Sam Lee writing for The Athletic, this is probably their best 20 minutes of the entire season, where they had real control in the opposition half. Forest had 11% possession in the first 10 minutes, and they were creating opportunities as well. It wasn't just benign possession. They were really on top. We've seen City recently push the fullbacks into central midfield. Well, in this game, what they did when they recognised that there was that 4 in midfield for Forest that I just mentioned in the 4-4-2, they were pushing Nunes and who's the left side? Rico Lewis, I think, on the left side, really high and wide. So that was then stretching the Forest midfield, and City were just playing through them. So on the basis of that first half where they were just so comprehensively stronger than Forest, I think they deserve to go through.
Yeah, there you go. Once again, final on May 17th. A lot of empty seats at Wembley for that one, particularly the Forest-Man City game. Pep went on record this week saying it'd be nice to play the FA Cup semi-finals in the north, like they used to do when they weren't paying for the new Wembley Stadium.
At the Etihad?
Well, somewhere. Well, usually used to be a neutral venue in the north, like Villa Park in the middle.
Villa Park, right? It used to be in Old Trafford.
Old Trafford and Villa Park were the traditional ones for the Northern FA Cup semi-finals. This is the 28th time Man City have played at the new Wembley Stadium, so it's a lot for their fans to come down for the semis and then the final as well. So that was some of the explanation of that.
But
Taylor.
Presumably, Pep would like the stadium to be full, so I don't know why he would want to play it at the Etihad.
Oh,
Hey-oh! Good one.
I think that was an empty head joke.
It was indeed. On that note, we're going to take a quick break. Taylor Rockwell, he's here all night, try the veal. We will come back after this break and talk about the rest of Europe, the Women's Champions League semi-finals, MLS, and much more. Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to the Weekend Review. Let's go to Italy, shall we, where all of Saturday's games were postponed to Sunday due to the papal stuffs. We had a huge day in the title race on Sunday, though, Graham, did we not? Napoli with a 2-0 win
Papal
over
stuffs
Torino.
is my favorite way I've ever heard someone refer to a pope being a pope's funeral. That's outstanding, Ryan. I mean, that's
Papal stuffs. It's a technical term. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that Latin?
Yeah. People stuffers.
Maximus Stuffus.
That sounded wrong. Anyway, let's move on to Naples. A 2-0
let's.
win over Torino. Scott McTominay on the double. 2 first-half goals for the Scot there. Napoli now lead Inter by 3 points, Graham, on 74 points at the top. It was neck and neck going into this weekend. They're now 3 ahead.
Huge weekend for Napoli, who have really taken a firm grip of this Scudetto race now. We spoke about it last week when obviously there was a 6-point swing. We talked about the more favourable run-in that Napoli have over Inter, and that is still the case. 4 games from winning this title. And Scott McTominay is the one driving them forward. 5 goals in his last 3 games, 11 league goals for the season now, more goals than Christian Pulisic, just saying. And I had a great time watching this game last night. I was looking forward to it. I made a point of sitting down and watching it. The way that Napoli create is so geared towards Scott McTominay. Now, the way that they overload mainly down the right side with Politano. By the way, Politano, I think, is one of the most underrated players in European football. He's excellent for this Napoli team. They get Politano and Di Lorenzo down that right side. You've also got Anguissa making runs from midfield down that right side like he did for the first goal. He's so good at that as well. But the McTominay zone is that area between the 6-yard box and the penalty spot. That's where he wants to arrive late, which is what he did for both goals. And he is so good at timing his runs there. He's a natural finisher. And this is, I said it last week, but it's worth repeating. This is his team at the moment, and it could be his title. 4 games to go. I'm absolutely delighted for him that he's found a team that is so built around him, and a city that he seems to love and seems to love him, because not to labour the point, I was a little bit bitter about the way things ended for him at Manchester United. So to see him doing so well makes me very, very pleased, as you can probably tell.
And certainly in the best form we've seen from him, but I think also just a different player. They're, like, both of these goals, I really struggled with how to explain this, and I haven't come up with a particularly succinct way, which is on brand for me. But it's just that, like, he is the man for this Napoli team. He is the one who has to be the difference maker. He is the one who is going to kind of fight for something in the box. If someone's going to score a goal, I feel like it is McTominay. And so both of these goals are him just making that little extra effort, getting to the ball first, finding a way to put it on frame, finding a way to make a shot happen from nothing, or to turn a cross that's slightly under hit, even if Politano has been excellent, Graham. And then he gets there and hits that volley. And I just think there is something to when you realize that you are like the man of the team, like you're the guy, you're the one that everyone's looking to,
totally.
That just elevates the performance. And there is a next level, like, natural way that he is playing, that it feels like he's playing on instinct. It feels like he's playing without having to kind of think and grind the gears and remember what his coach is asking and how many touches he's supposed to take in any given moment. And he's just playing his game, and it's working really well, obviously. And this Napoli team on the whole, I feel like, Graham, are underrated across the board. Like, that midfield 3, McTominay, Lobotka, and Anguissa, is so effective, but I think doesn't have any players that you would ever think of as, like, truly world class. So I think they don't maybe get some of the coverage, some of the love that other midfield units might in this league, but also elsewhere. And I think they've been excellent. Spinazzola on the left has been incredible. Lukaku has been put in another strong season when it felt like he was kind of maybe being thrown to the wilderness. And it's just been a really strong Napoli team that are maybe greater than the sum of their parts, which I guess means that Antonio Conte gets even more credit than we've already given him in the past.
Yeah, the downside of this game is that Napoli have 3 really key players come off with injuries. 2 of those midfield 3 that you mentioned there, Taylor, Anguissa and Lobotka. Lobotka comes off near the end with an injury. Buongiorno as well, who's been excellent for, you talk about like underrated players, he's definitely up there. I wonder if there's a sense of regret. What was that, Ryan? Sorry,
bad Italian joke. Continue.
Okay, I should have just guessed that. He had a late fitness test before the game, and it kind of backfired playing him in this match. He comes off before the end. I think the sense is that he might be out for 2 to 3 weeks. So if those players are missing for any period of time, that could be a major complication. But otherwise, Napoli are in the driving seat, or the catbird seat, and that's how we say it on this show.
Correct. That is canon. They are in the catbird seat because earlier on Sunday, Inter had a 1-0 home loss at the hands of Roma. A very bad week for Inter. Their 3rd loss in the week. They're out of the Coppa Italia midweek to their rivals, Milan AC. And they lost to Bologna last weekend as well. Who's up next for them on Wednesday? Barcelona. Oh boy! Yeah. They're running out of steam at the wrong time, Taylor, it seems, of this season are Inter.
Yeah, and I believe also Benjamin Pavard picking up an injury. He'll be out of that Barcelona clash, and we don't know when he will return, if he'll return at all this season. It does seem like Inter are really struggling with the injuries and then with just the lack of consistency that follows. But in this game, they have the lion's share of possession. There's a 15-minute period in the second half when I think they have like 80% possession, and yet they still aren't really able to create that many clear-cut opportunities. Roma, by contrast, having the better chances, especially as the game goes on when they start to catch Inter on the break. They don't take those chances, but it's still worth noting to me that Inter, for all their possession, for all their ball movement, for all their technical brilliance and tactical preparation, just lacked a difference maker and are starting to lose players that could be difference makers, because Pavard is a defender, obviously, but we've seen him score good clutch goals at club level and international level. To lose him is hurtful, to their chances at least. To not have Marcus Thuram around is certainly having an impact as well. Lautaro Martinez did a lot of work in this game. He puts in a defensive shift at the very end. I think he is the last player back for Inter trying to prevent another goal for Roma, but I think overall you just didn't have the next level ability, the next level difference making that Inter have had at other points in this season.
Yes, indeed. A couple other games from Serie A to point to. Atalanta were held to a 1-1 draw at home by Lecce. They're in third. Juve just 3 points behind Atalanta. But Graham, I don't know if you saw this. We had protest kits, special protest kits for Lecce. So Lecce obviously usually playing the yellow and the red stripes. They were in just plain white shirts, and on the shirts it said "Nessun valore, nessun colore." So no honour, no colours. This is because they are protesting the league's decision not to postpone the match because their physio died. Graziano Fiorita, on Thursday he passed away. They wanted the game suspended. It was not suspended, so they wore protest kits.
Right.
That's a new one on me.
Ryan, did I read that he passed away like at a team retreat? Not that makes a huge difference, but like it wasn't just that there was like a physio who's maybe been sick and has been missing and then he passed away. It was also like, I think the immediacy of it, the suddenness of it, combined with the fact that it was like around players, I think is where they were coming from with their like, this has had an emotional impact. We are still dealing with it. We would like to not play a game. And the league said, no, you're going to play anyway. Not similar, but Inter, I think, also feeling pretty frustrated with the fixture being moved and not just rescheduled, so that they then have to play Barcelona in 48 hours from the conclusion of that game. Odd times.
Yeah. Indeed, yeah, and obviously the physio is someone who the players will have, as you mentioned, Taylor, sort of daily interactions with. So it will be something.
Yeah, it feels very similar to the Barcelona thing earlier this season when their club doctor died,
right.
And obviously they had their match postponed. So I can see why Lecce are unhappy about that.
Yeah. Our condolences to the family of Graziano Fiorita, of course. One other Italian game to mention, a 2-0 win for Milan at Venezia. Christian Pulisic on the score sheet, along with Santiago Jimenez in that one. Busio's Venezia are 2 points clear of safety at this point. We're now officially in Christian Pulisic's best scoring season ever, 16 goals, beating last season's 15 goals. Fantastic for Christian Pulisic. A couple more... Indeed.
I was weighing up, can I make that joke? Are people going to be annoyed if I make that joke? But Taylor did it for me.
There you go. Real quick look at the Bundesliga. Bayern Munich with a 3-0 win over Mainz. They put their title celebrations on ice, though, because Bayer Leverkusen matched their win to stay 8 points behind with 3 matches to go. Bayern can secure their 34th German League title with a win at RB Leipzig next week. Leipzig lost 4-0 at Eintracht on Saturday, so not in the best form.
Can't wait to see how Harry Kane messes this one up.
Well, he's not. He's going to miss the game. He picked up his fifth booking and a suspension. So I guess that's how he missed up.
That's how the curse is going to continue. He's not on the pitch when his team wins a title.
There you go. But he inevitably will get that long-lost silverware, will Harry Kane, from that one. Women's Champions League semi-finals. We have our Champions League finalists set, Graham. We had Arsenal with a 4-1 win at Lyon. What happened there?
Yeah, Arsenal were excellent in this game, and I don't know if anyone truly believed that they would be able to overturn that 2-1 deficit from the first leg, which we touched upon that game in the Patreon Weekend Review Extra last week. Obviously, Lyon, with the pedigree that they have, multiple times Champions League winners. I think most people, including myself, assumed that they would just stroll through they would get the job done and they'd make it through to the final, keeping in mind that they were at home for this second leg. But my word, Arsenal were rampant for so much of this match, and I did make a point. I mean, I turned it on when Arsenal were 1-0 up because you got a sense that maybe a pretty remarkable result was on the cards. But they were so quick to pounce on any mistake from Lyon at the back, of which there were multiple. So Lyon made it easier for Arsenal. Endler, the goalkeeper, is absolutely nowhere near for the first goal, the ball coming into the box and it kind of just bounces off her and into the back of the net from a corner kick. But I thought Alessia Russo was so effective at being the focal point for Arsenal. Probably the best game, and look, I don't watch every Arsenal women's game. Probably the best I've ever seen her play. And keep in mind, the defender, her opposite number, was Wendy Renard. We all know about Wendy Renard and how tall and physically imposing Wendy Renard is. And the number of times Russo was backing into her, holding her off, laying the ball off. She scores a goal in this game, which is capitalising on another Lyon mistake. But Arsenal were so good. The strike from Caldente right at the end of the first half was an absolute perler. And I think at that point there was a real sense that Lyon were really rocking. It became a quicksand game for them. They're scrambled in their decision making. Touches were off. Everything was just a little bit too quick, and they never looked comfortable with the physicality and the directness of the Arsenal attack. I thought Lyon, as good as Arsenal were, Lyon, this was a disaster class by them. They were never able to get Lindsay Heaps into the game, who is kind of like their attacking pace setter and creator. But yeah, Arsenal were absolutely ruthless, and they will have a shot at this Barcelona team, which has obviously been this juggernaut in European soccer for the last few years.
Yep, and they get that shot with Barcelona because, of course, Barca beating Chelsea 4-1, 8-2 on aggregate. Pretty comprehensive there, Graham.
Yeah, I think we already knew that Barcelona were through to the final after that first leg, which they won 4-1, but this was just confirmation of how good they are. Like, as good as Arsenal were against Lyon, I think they're going to need to be even better to stand a chance against this Barcelona team. And Chelsea, they have to be wondering what they have to do to get the better of this team, because they've lost to them in the Champions League in the last 3 seasons. One of them obviously been in the final, 2 semi-final defeats now. And this year they went and got the Lyon manager, Sonia Bonpastor, to replace Emma Hayes, and they broke the transfer record to sign Naomi Girma, of course. They had like problem positions in central midfield and at right back, so who did they go and get? They got Kira Walsh, they got Lucy Bronze. A year before that, they broke the transfer record to get Maya Ramirez in as like a new centre forward. They've got Sam Kerr. So they've been so ambitious, Chelsea, in trying to catch Barcelona, and they still get steamrolled by this team with their like homegrown superstars, and yeah, they get dismantled season after season. So this one was a sore one for Chelsea, but Barcelona have another Champions League title in their sights.
They do indeed. One final league to take a look at, Major League Soccer, which of course will be dedicating Tuesday's show on the Total Soccer Show too. But a quick look at Cincinnati, who are top in the East with a 2-1 win over Sporting. Vancouver still top in the West, a 3-1 win for them at Minnesota. Biggest scoreline of the weekend, Graham. Nashville 7, Chicago 2. This was 7-0 after less than an hour for Nashville. Wow.
Yeah, the USMNT derby between Berhalter and Patches O'Houlihan, of course. And it was Patches who got the win, and then some.
Chicago could not dodge a wrench, is what we learned from this game.
They could not.
Their excuse was a certain flavoured lollipop, I would say.
They got crushed by the Luck of the Irish sign that crushes Patches O'Houlihan. And yeah, 5-0 at half-time. This one was over pretty early. But we've spoken about Nashville. We've spoken about Chicago as well in our MLS shows on a Tuesday. But Nashville have just been so impressed with what they're doing at the moment. The thing that was most striking in this game was how many different routes to goal that they had. They scored from a set piece. They scored from like possession phases as well, really nice team goals. But they were also getting in behind the Chicago backline so easily with long ball after long ball. Like Sam Surridge was basically laughing as he was scoring his hat trick. It was so easy for him. So yeah, a bit of an embarrassment for Chicago. I think Berhalter came out afterwards and like apologised for the performance. But Nashville they're looking pretty good. I didn't see them having this like comprehensive a transformation in such a short period of time under Callahan.
There you go. Congratulations, Taylor. Any MLS chat, or should we save it for Tuesday?
We can save most of it for Tuesday. I just love that Andy Nahar, playing it right back for Nashville, I believe got a hat trick of assists, which maybe communicates what Graham was talking about some of the directness in the way that Nashville were trying to capitalize on Chicago, and that they did. So credit to them for that win. I look forward to talking about that more with Jeff and Joe and Graham, I believe. Graham, are you on the MLS show this week? Or?
Not tomorrow, no, I'm Wednesday show.
Well, then I don't look forward to talking to Graham about it. Graham, you've been removed in your face.
There we go. On that dramatic bombshell. Let's wrap this weekend review up. Thank you very much indeed, listener, for joining us on this one. Patreon.com/Total Soccer Show for our bonus content, including Weekend Review Extra, where we're talking about Celtic's Scottish title win, Wrexham doing it once again, and much more. Join us there, if you will. But for now, from Taylor Rockwell, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Ryan Bailey. You are always a first-round draft pick for me, not a fifth-round draft pick. I would never send you to Cleveland.
Thanks. Graham Ruthven, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ryan Bailey. I'll go to Cleveland. No idea what's there, but there's got to be a Denny's there.
Cleveland, the
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Cleveland, the city is fine. Cleveland, the Browns as an organization is not where you want to go.
Right.
Okay,
I'll take your word for it.
I'm going to pretend that I've been following the draft and I understand the reference, Taylor.
Fair enough.
And I'm going to
Very good.
pretend I know what a draft is.
It's when your door doesn't quite fit and you get a little bit of wind coming underneath it from outside. That's what it is, Graham.
Sure.
Listener, thank you very much for joining us on the Weekend Review. We'll be back on the feed very shortly, but for now, bye.